welcome to this bonus edition of the PipeBomb Wrestling Podcast, a show that is for the fans, by the fans. I am your phenomenal host, Mr. Podcasting, Chris Belcher. You can follow me at Chris Belcher24 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The show is at PBW Podcast on those platforms, and make sure you're following along with us. If you're watching the YouTube version on the bodyslam.net YouTube channel, you will notice that, of course, we are not in our normal setup. Why? Because we told you where we were going to be. We are in Dallas attempting to stay awake, alert, and alive because, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a long 48 hours, more than 48, really. But I am here. Of course, I am alongside the young buck, Mr. Andy York. And Andy, we're going to dive more into detail on Friday and all of the nonsense that we got into on Friday later this week on the show. But man, I'm tired.
I am physically tired. I am emotionally tired at this point because Friday night was emotional, which we'll talk about later, probably later on in the week.
Yes.
First night of Mania was definitely emotional, hit all the fields, and I'm ready to go, die Monday morning at some point. But right now it's been an amazing week.
It really has. It's been awesome. For those of you who are just now checking out our show, thank you for joining us. If you are new to the show, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the notifications bell on the bodyslam.net YouTube channel. Make sure you give us a 5-star review wherever you find your podcast. And if you're listening to us on SportsWire Radio, thank you so much for that. We had a great time yesterday with Tom and the crew over there. Thank you so much, Tom, for having us. We're going to replay that show on our feed later this week. So make sure that you check that out and throw them some support over there. I know there's some great shows over there, and I'm sure they got a lot of good Final Four talk going on this weekend, as the Final Four is going on the same weekend as WrestleMania. So make sure you throw them some support and interact with them. I know they would appreciate it very much. Again, we are on the heels of going into night 2 of WrestleMania, but we're going to talk night 1 WrestleMania. Again, we will give you all the insight and all the fun of our 31-hour day on Friday. We'll give you that later this week. But we're here to talk about night 1 of WrestleMania. And as you can tell, my voice is shot after Friday night and after last night. But you said it, man, like emotionally, physically, like WWE has evoked these emotions out of us over the last 48 plus hours.
Yeah.
And that's what WrestleMania week's all about.
This goes to show, and this is one of the more frustrating things about WWE, is that when they're good, they're one of the best, if not the best things in wrestling.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is because it's not necessarily as consistent as we would like, but when it happens, it's magical.
It is.
And night 1 of WrestleMania, I think we talked about it going, like, walking into the stadium. Like, night 1 is not that great of a card when you look at it from the outside looking in. Like, not that great of a card. Most of the matches hadn't had that great of a build going into it.
Right.
And it's like WrestleMania 31. WrestleMania 31 was the same way. Not that great of a build, not that great of a card. And night 1, if night 2 is anything like night 1, this is, and I'm biased, I'm here, I understand that. To me, this is a top 5 WrestleMania.
Absolutely.
A top 5 WrestleMania, because
absolutely,
even the things that weren't great were still good and enjoyable. Like, I enjoyed myself through 95% of night 1.
There were a lot of things that had no business being good that ended up being really good.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And we're going to talk about that. But, like we said, emotionally, physically draining. You said it, when WWE is on it, they're on it, and I don't think anybody can touch them when they're truly on it and when they hit home runs like they did last night. I have just often, the whole weekend, I've been thinking back to last year. And I know last year's WrestleMania was a little bit different under the circumstances. You didn't have a full stadium, yada, yada, yada. But the common thread that we're seeing this year from last year is that we said night 1's not that great of a card, but night 2 is going to be awesome. And then last year, out of night 1, we were like, oh my gosh, they over delivered.
Yeah.
This year, exact same thing, you know? So, man, night 2 has a lot to live up to.
Night two's got their hands full.
Yeah.
I was expecting to kind of be the other way around. Of night one would be okay. Night two is where everything would really take off. But night one was just absolutely amazing. I am spoiled for my first WrestleMania experience.
Sure you are.
Which I'm going to go into night two with as much anticipation and excitement, but I'm not expecting it to be better than night one.
Right.
And if it is, then hey, I'm totally fine with that. But it's been great, man.
Well, let's go ahead and kick it off with the obvious. You're wearing the shirt, so if anybody's watching this and they didn't watch WrestleMania, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Cody Rhodes has returned to WrestleMania. He was the mystery opponent of Seth Rollins last night. All the rumors were true. The mystery has been put to bed. No more speculation. No more nothing. Cody has spoken publicly multiple times since then. He has signed a multi-year contract with the WWE. He is back full-time. Here we are, man. And not only is he back full-time, he's back as the American Nightmare.
That was the most important thing to me. I knew there was no way he was coming back. I don't think he would have signed if he had to come back as Stardust or kind of any version, but I was afraid that they were going to try to change the presentation to make it different.
Yep.
And they did not, from the entrance music to literally him coming from the floor and during WrestleMania, during his entrance. The pyro was definitely Cody pyro. His gear, all of it. So I was expecting it to be Cody, but I was not expecting to get the reaction that he got. I was just blown away by it, to the point where I blacked out for a second, and I lost my balance and almost fell back. It was absolutely amazing. I think, we were walking into it thinking it could be Cody, it could be Taker. It could only be Cody. It really could only be Cody at this point to get that reaction. I don't think Taker would have got the same reaction that Cody got for his return match coming back WrestleMania against Seth Rollins. They went like 25, 30 minutes and best match of the night.
Yep.
Tore the house down. He proved in this match. And I mean, credit to Seth Rollins as well for making him look like the main eventer that he is. But he proved that he is not a mid-card guy in WWE anymore, but he is a main event level guy and immediately is top 3 that could dethrone Roman.
Absolutely. No, we were having that discussion on the way home last night, or not on the way home, on the way back to the hotel. Obviously, we're not home. We're 10 hours from home. But we were having that discussion last night. We've talked on this podcast extensively about how short the list is of people that can beat Roman Reigns or would make sense to beat Roman Reigns. And Cody is now on that list with his presentation last night and his reaction last night and how good he was in the ring last night.
Yeah.
Cody's on that short list now. It's him. It's Seth Rollins. Really, that's about it.
Well, I'm going to throw Kevin Owens in there as well.
Yes.
Especially after last night, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But I think those 3 guys are your top guys. I mean, obviously, you can put like The Rock in there. You could put Brock probably still in that category. But from like a week to week, there every week, full-time guy, I think it's those 3 that have the chance. But Cody coming in, I mean, it was absolutely insane.
Yep.
It was crazy. The pop that he got, the noise that it was presentation, everything was just absolutely perfect. This is one of those where WWE absolutely got the debut right.
Yep.
And let's just hope that they can capitalize on it, because it caught lightning in a bottle last night, and now they just need to let that bottle go and just let it continue to go forward week on week.
And I'm finally going to be a humongous Cody Rhodes fan, just so you guys are aware. I mean, not that I wasn't before. I mean, and granted, he was one of my favorites in AEW before.
Right.
But especially now that he's home, now that the story is coming full circle. I'm sorry, y'all. This is where Cody Rhodes belongs. He did not belong in AEW. He had a vision for that company, and he got outvoted. Clearly, he got outvoted. In the article that he gave the interview, it was personal things they couldn't get past. He clearly got outvoted. They being AEW did not have the vision that Cody had for that company. It was the best thing for Cody to do was to move on.
And I don't think Cody's vision for AEW would have worked with the AEW crowd, because I mean, you could see the things that he was trying to do wasn't working with the AEW crowd. So it's not like AEW screwed up by letting Cody Rhodes go. It was, they could see the writing on the wall. Sure. I think everybody could see the writing on the wall. That's why there's no hard feelings. That's why I mean, the Young Bucks posted on their bio, I thought we were doing All In too, which is them perfectly, but
It's
like
funny.
if you look at the feed, like Punk was happy for Cody. You can kind of go down the list of guys that were happy for Cody that were in AEW. So it's not like a bad-willed thing. It was, writing on the wall. And I think honestly, I believe Cody had a chip on his shoulder when he asked for his release because of the whole Stardust thing.
Yep.
And he's even said in interviews when he left, like, my dad told me to go.
Yeah.
Like, leave.
Yeah.
Go be you on the independent scene. And then he was on the independent scene. He literally was the independent wrestling world for
several years,
2-3 years.
Yep.
Started AEW, and just to come back to WWE, it's a complete full circle. Absolutely amazing.
Yep.
Perfectly deserved. And let's just hope. Let's hope that it's, because we could be sitting here next month at WrestleMania Backlash talking about, well, there goes Cody. That's the end of Cody right there. But I mean, perfect night, perfect debut.
Yep.
Presentation was perfect. They just got to let it be itself and not get in the way of it.
Only time will tell exactly how they do it with Cody. But the one thing that I said last night, and I texted this to several people, and I will take this one to my grave. Y'all would expect to hear this from me. I'm going to say it on the podcast. AEW, got 2 words for you.
It's their first win out of like 1,000 AEW wins, but we'll take it. Take it.
But
it's a big one.
The weight.
It's a big one.
The weight of this win.
Yeah, it's a big one.
I mean, we talked about it last night in the hotel room. Honestly, like the wins, and this is not like a. It's not really an opinion thing, really. It's fact. Like the wins that AEW has had versus the now big win that WWE has. When you look at it, AEW hasn't had that many wins. If you're looking at guys that they released and that WWE released and went to AEW versus people that requested their release or their contract ran out and they didn't resign.
Yeah.
So in that discussion, you can't count Bryan Danielson. You can't count Adam Cole.
Yeah.
You can't count those guys. And I'm not trying to compare apples to oranges here. What I'm saying is that in this war, everybody's been talking about how WWE screwed up. WWE screwed up. WWE screwed up. Well, guess what? They had an ace in the hole, and they pulled it.
They did. And I will say this, though. I think getting released and asking for your release are 2 different things.
Yes,
and I think
agree.
asking for your release to go to the other company is a bigger deal than the guys getting released. So I think Cody technically asking for his release, but not re-signing to go to WWE is a huge deal, just like Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson not re-signing with WWE to go to AEW.
Correct.
And I mean, Cody Rhodes is WWE's ace in the hole, just like CM Punk was AEW's ace in the hole.
Absolutely.
And so I think we're kind of on an even playing field now.
We are.
With this whole aspect of things. Do I think, and it depends on the booking of Cody from this point on.
Mm-hmm.
Like at this moment, right after it happened, this is a massive win for WWE.
Yep, it's huge.
If they let it fall through their hands and he's back in the mid card by SummerSlam, there's the big mistake.
Right.
And that's kind of the field we're playing on now. But look, I don't care who wins this war. AEW is killing it right now.
Yep.
WrestleMania is absolutely amazing right now. Yep. If you're a wrestling fan, just enjoy both or enjoy the one you want to enjoy and just shut up about the other one at this point, because AEW is going to do what AEW does. They just brought in Samoa Joe, which I absolutely love.
Yep.
WWE brought in Cody Rhodes, which I absolutely love as well. So it's just pick your poison.
Yep.
And enjoy both or enjoy either one.
Absolutely. No, and that's 100% true. Like I was saying last night to you, it's like, look, I love some things that AEW is doing. I am just so happy that WWE got a win this big on the other side,
on their biggest
stage, in the biggest way possible.
Yep.
And Cody Rhodes is back home where he belongs. And there's going to be a lot of pressure. He is going to have the pressure of building new stars and getting a lot out of guys because of his name.
Yeah, and that's going to be the interesting part, because I'm not taking anything away from what they did last night, because it was special and amazing. But it's easy for Seth Rollins to have a good match with somebody. It's easy for Cody to have a good match with somebody.
Yep.
But can they do it with, guys that are not necessarily on their level? On their level, can they help make them stars, or can they still have decent matches or good matches? And I love the variety interview that he did. I love that they released it like 2 minutes after his debut.
Yep.
They sent out and released it, And one of the things he said was he told Vince, he told Bruce Pritchard, and he told Nick Khan.
Yep.
He says, I'm the best wrestler in the world, which I don't necessarily agree with, but I like the attitude and the chip on his shoulder. And now he has to go out and prove what he thinks. And last night was a big win in that step of proving he is one of the best in the world. I don't think he's the best in the world, but he is one of the best in the world. And he had the biggest stage to prove it. He proved it, and we'll see where they go from here.
You mentioned Kevin Owens earlier. Let's talk about the other big deal from last night. Stone Cold Steve Austin returning and having a match. 20 minutes bell to bell in a no holds barred match against Kevin Owens. They fought all the way around the building. Steve Austin took a suplex on the concrete. Oh my goodness. And then delivered 2 suplexes on the ramp. Like, holy cow, man. Like, jeez.
His first bump was not in the ring. It was on the concrete.
Yeah.
So he definitely took it in a big way. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't pretty. It was a Stone Cold match, and it was amazing.
Have you ever seen a pretty perfect Stone Cold match?
No. That's what makes Stone Cold is that it's not a pretty perfect match. It's a brawl, and it's a fight, and that's what that was. I'll let you talk about the Stone Cold aspect of it because obviously you grew up watching Stone Cold. I've never got to see Stone Cold wrestle. Obviously, I didn't start watching until 2009. Being in the building for his last match is amazing, absolutely amazing. Yeah. Kevin Owens, though, deserves not all the credit, but he deserves a massive amount of credit for this.
Yep.
There was nobody else you could put in the ring with Stone Cold Steve Austin, really, and get that kind of reaction, get that kind of match, get that moment. Kevin Owens has main evented a WrestleMania now. Not only has he main evented a WrestleMania, he's main evented a WrestleMania with Stone Cold Steve Austin, which is amazing.
Yep.
He absolutely deserved to be in that spot. And he feels like a big deal now.
Yep.
This is one of those this could have happened with Goldberg and The Fiend. This could have happened with Goldberg and Kevin Owens from Fastlane a couple years ago. Just because they're in the ring with the legend doesn't mean the legend needs to squash them.
Right.
Let them have a match like that. 20 minutes of action. Stone Cold had offense for like 90% of the match.
Yep.
But the 10% that KO had was amazing.
Yep.
And really made him feel special. Hit the stunner on Steve. Which was beautiful.
Yep.
And he looked like $1 million after this, and I'm excited to see where they go. I understand now why he resigned, because if they were like, "Hey, come back and we'll let you fight Stone Cold at WrestleMania,"
right?
Who's not going to say yes to that? Right. So I just hope that they push him now, kind of further back into the main event scene where he belongs, and kind of run that feud back with Roman. Let that feud back with Roman come back. That would be great. Kevin Owens versus Cody would be a great feud kind of going forward as well. So it was just an awesome night, an awesome moment. The ATV was amazing to see that.
Yep.
And it was just a lot of fun.
It was awesome. I knew one of my favorite moments of the night was watching the crew take the steps away. I knew when they took the steps away, man, we're getting the ATV, we're getting the four-wheel. I was so happy. Oh my gosh, I was so happy. But man, it just goes to show you the faith and the trust that WWE has in Kevin Owens, and not just WWE, but the faith and trust and respect that Steve Austin has for Kevin Owens.
Absolutely.
Because guess what, guys? I've said it on this podcast before, and a lot of people are, there are contingency of fans that are not happy that Austin did this.
Yeah.
Even afterwards.
Yeah.
There are contingency of fans that are not happy. Guess what, guys? Austin could have said no. All he had to do was say no.
Right.
And I'm sure that Vince and Bruce had some convincing. I'm sure they enticed him a little bit. They gave him a little extra cash, I'm sure they enticed him quite a bit. But listen, he said no for 19 years.
Yeah.
What made this year different? Well, guess what? They're in Dallas, and I'm sure Kevin Owens had a lot to do with it.
And it's just amazing to look at this and to see, like you said, the respect. And there's only a couple guys that WWE have that much faith in.
Yep.
He's one of them. The Miz is the other one.
Yep.
If there's a celebrity match more than likely happen at WrestleMania, it's going to be with The Miz.
Yep, that's right.
And I think we can throw Sami Zayn in there this year with Johnny Knoxville.
I think that one is, I think we're, I don't want to say yet to be seen on that one, but I'm gonna wait and see on that.
But what I'm saying is, Sammy has carried the feud with Johnny
Oh
Knoxville.
yeah,
and has
absolutely.
done a great.
Yeah.
There's nobody else that you could really do the Johnny Knoxville match with other than Sammy, because their characters fit together really well,
Right.
and they work together really well.
Well, and I think that promo skills have a lot to do with that.
Absolutely.
Because you can't have a guy. You look at the Undertaker and John Cena from New Orleans a couple of years back. Like, you have to have a guy that can cut a promo in order to carry that kind of feud.
Yeah. Well, Seth carried this whole thing with Cody by himself.
Absolutely.
And that goes to show how much trust and faith they have in these three individuals.
Yep.
And so, I really believe at Mania this year, we talk about all the time that they don't build stars very well. I think they built Kevin Owens as a star.
Yeah.
They've laid the groundwork, and they just got to capitalize on it. And they got to kind of continue to push it forward. And that's kind of the theme, I think, of night one is you've got gold now.
Yep.
But can you let it stay that way?
Yep.
And I think the only time will tell with that. I mean, we're going to be at SummerSlam, so we'll know in about 6 months or so, or a couple months from now, if they are going to continue that forward. But it's just, I think Kevin Owens has got big things planned for the future. I think that's going to be amazing. And, Stone Cold doesn't need to wrestle anymore. Just leave it alone at this point.
For a guy who they said don't expect to ever get called up to the main roster because you're not really what we're looking for.
Yep.
To main eventing WrestleMania with Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
Kevin Owens is good.
He is. It's his mic. It's his mic work. It's his in-ring work. It's his personality behind the scene. It's just a lot of things that play into it.
It's his drive to make everything so good.
Yeah.
Like he wants everything to be perfect.
Well, I mean, you gotta think about this dude's career, because we talk about the Goldberg thing a lot, and we talk about the Chris Jericho thing a lot, how they dropped the ball with that big time.
Right.
You also got to remember his first match in WWE on the main roster. He not only wrestled John Cena, he pinned John Cena clean in the middle of the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody does that.
Right.
Nobody did that at that point. He's beat John Cena on his first night. He wrestled Stone Cold at WrestleMania.
Yep.
What's next?
Yep.
I mean, what's next for Kevin Owens other than
another world title
reign? That, I mean, his first one was good. His first one was really good up until Goldberg.
It's had a bad ending. Yeah.
He needs another one. He deserves another one at this point, and I'm very excited to see what they're going to do with him.
Unfortunately, he's probably going to have to wait about 2 years for that. But
yeah, unless Roman just drops one of them.
Yeah,
but I don't see that happening.
Not going to happen. All right, a couple other things from night one before we get out of here. We don't want to take up too much time, obviously, but we definitely want to review some of the stuff from night one. Another big thing was the Ronda Rousey Charlotte Flair match that supposedly was supposed to be the main event. Lots of reports out there about Ronda and her being upset, yada yada yada, whatever. All in all, man, though, this was your turd sandwich, and the match was fine. It wasn't as good as I hoped it would be, but I was entertained. Like, I thought it was good for what it was. The finish was great, but I hate the big boot. Like, I understand that Ronda kicked out of the natural selection earlier, so you couldn't go back to that. But I hated just a big boot finish. That was weird. If Charlotte had beaten other people with that, okay, I can get behind it.
Well, she used it as her finisher a couple years ago. I think, but it was a weird then, and it's weird now. I think she could have hit the natural selection again, and it would. I mean, Cody hit 4 crossroads and picked up the win.
Absolutely.
So I think he could. I think Charlotte could have used the natural selection, and it would have been fine. The feud to me was terrible going into this.
Yes.
The build had been terrible. I talked about it on the preview, and we talked about it before going in. This is the match I was least looking forward to.
Yep.
And it was fine.
Yep.
It was about as good as I thought it was going to be.
Yep.
Which kind of, I mean, it sucks because their Survivor Series match from 2018 was just Ronda's best match by far. Mm-hmm. And they didn't even get close to that this time. I think ego got in the way on both sides on this one. Ronda did good. I mean, she did fine. I was bored throughout it. Yeah. And I mean, the placement of it didn't help either.
Right.
Because they were right after Cody and right before Stone Cold. So that's not going to be good for anybody.
They stuck the Hall of Fame in the middle. where we had the Undertaker.
Yeah. So it didn't. The placement of it wasn't that great. But I mean, I'd much rather them have that match there than Becky Bianca, because that match, we'll talk about it in a minute, was awesome. It was just, it is what it is. Charlotte retaining does not shock me, does not surprise me. I wouldn't be shocked if we don't see Ronda anymore. But the way they were playing it up, I mean, it looked like she may be back. We may run this back at WrestleMania Backlash. But as of right now, for me, this was the worst match of the night.
I don't want to say it was the worst match of the night. I think that Dominic and Rey Mysterio against The Miz and Logan Paul was the worst match of the night.
I enjoyed it.
Rey and Dominic's gear was incredible. I would say The Miz and Logan Paul's gear was incredible.
Logan Paul looked good.
He did.
He looked really good.
There were some things that he did that was like, it was fine.
Yeah.
It was not Bad Bunny. It was not
Pat McAfee from NXT.
Pat McAfee in NXT. It wasn't any of that. It was fine. The Miz and his shocking turn on Logan Paul at the end of the match was fantastic.
Yeah.
Saved the match, in my opinion.
See, I think this is where I'm going to disagree a little bit, because I think Logan Paul could be a natural in WWE.
He could, but he wasn't last night.
I don't know. I enjoyed it. I think when he hit the Three Amigos on Rey, hit the frog splash after doing the Eddie shimmy, like, the dude got nothing but heat last night.
He did. That's true.
And I don't think he didn't do anything that looked terrible to me. I mean, he looked decent. He looked fine. He looked comfortable.
Yeah.
He looked like he was, more fluid. I might be the only one in the world that has this opinion, which I'm fine with. So you can send your hate tweets at Andy_PBWP. I enjoyed his performance more than I enjoyed Ronda's and Charlotte's. And I think part of it is because I thought this match was going to be a lot worse than it was, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
I was not bored once during this match.
That's true. I was not either.
I enjoyed it for an entertainment aspect, for a sports entertainment aspect, which this is normally your point, and this is weird that it's it's kind of flip-flopped. But for a sports entertainment aspect, I was thoroughly entertained, and I enjoyed it.
I get it. I mean, it delivered. It was what it was, but I had such low expectations that it just didn't get there.
Yeah, I wouldn't be upset if Logan Paul did another match
with The Miz one-on-one.
With The Miz one-on-one, maybe at SummerSlam.
No, it'll happen before that.
Maybe next month at WrestleMania Backlash.
I think it'll happen before that.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, I would be fine with it. I enjoyed it. I think it was not Bad Bunny level. It was not Pat McAfee level. It was not. I think I might. It was not Stephen Amell level, but it was pretty close to that.
Yep. I mean, I can agree. I'm not going to argue that the guy didn't look. Guy's an athlete.
Yeah.
Like I'm sitting here talking about a guy that stood toe to toe with Floyd Mayweather,
right? And
from my perspective, it is what it is.
He's an athlete, but he's also an entertainer, and that's like a perfect mix for WWE. Sure. So I think they could have something special with him.
They could get something out of him for sure. It just didn't work for me last night. I tell you what did work for me last night, though, man. I was pleasantly surprised at Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin. Oh my gosh, those two guys had their working boots on last night.
Drew McIntyre is one of the most over guys in WWE.
And he proved it last night. That crowd was so hot for Drew McIntyre.
They popped for his entrance.
It was great.
They popped for the 3, 2, 1 countdown was
so
loud.
Both times.
By the way, kind of going back a match, the pop that Ray got when he got the hot tag
was
loud.
That was nuts.
It was huge.
That was crazy. Yeah.
I didn't think Rey Mysterio could be a headliner of a Hall of Fame until I just walked into this WrestleMania. Now I think he could definitely headline a Hall of Fame at this point. But Drew McIntyre, the pop was huge for his entrance. The pop that he got, I'm glad it wasn't just me and you.
Yep.
Because the pop that he got when he kicked out of the End of Days was massive. Like we stood up and freaked out, and there was like everybody in our section and looked like everybody across the arena freaked out when he kicked out of the End of Days. It was massive.
Yep.
Baron Corbin, Happy Corbin, whatever you want to call him, his character is awful.
Mm-hmm.
He has a very punchable face.
Mm-hmm.
He's not the best all the time,
right?
But he is good in the ring at times,
He
proved it this time. I feel like him and Drew have always had good chemistry together.
Mhm.
And this match was no different. This
Yep.
match was awesome. The sword spot, cutting the rope, was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. That was better than the SmackDown one, but he tried to cut the table and it like bounced off and didn't do anything.
Right.
That spot was really cool. I think we both thought this might be the worst match of the night, or one of the matches we were not looking forward to.
Correct.
And it was great.
It was
It
great.
was absolutely awesome.
It was so good because, we have been on this podcast being very vocal about the spot that Drew McIntyre has been in since his world title run, and it hasn't been great. Well, listen, y'all, in AT&T Stadium in Dallas, Texas, it didn't matter to them last night.
No, I honestly, I told you this after the match too. I think you could have done Lesnar Drew again, and it would have been massive.
Yep.
I think it would have been massive. I think it could have main evented last night.
Sure could have.
And the pop he would have got when he won would have been bigger than what he got last night.
Sure.
And I think he's right there at the level. I think he's on the outside of maybe being one of the ones to beat Roman.
Yeah.
And I would not be upset by that at all.
I think he's definitely on the, I don't want to say I think he needs a little bit more.
If they build him right. Yeah. Yeah.
To get there for sure.
Absolutely.
Opening match of the night, man. It was awesome to see Boogs and Nakamura. The place was going bananas. It was great. Great match with the Usos. Unfortunately, cut short because Boogs tore his quad.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, you could kind of tell when he went to pick up both Usos that I don't think we saw anything buckle, but I think you saw something happen with his leg and he just went down. I thought it was storyline because I believe that's the knee that they played up that he hurt or whatever.
And they showed the replay.
So I was like, they're not going to show the replay if it's actually. But then I forgot they showed Madcap Moss getting dropped on his head like 7 times at the Saudi show. But then we saw like the doctors run into him, rush to him, and we knew at that point this is not storyline wise. I feel bad for Boogs. He was one of the most over guys going into WrestleMania. Fans love him. Crowd loved him. I feel bad for Nakamura. Nakamura had just caught steam. Again, probably he was at his most popular since maybe NXT.
Since his debut. Yeah.
Since his debut.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're kind of...
I would say up until the AJ match, till he turned heel.
Yeah.
Because he was so over when he won that Rumble.
Oh, yeah, he was.
Yeah,
he was. That after 34, man, at 34, I think you could kind of say at 34 is where he lost a lot of his steam. He picked it back up, and the Nakamura chants were loud. The Boogs chants were loud.
The singing of the theme song was so loud.
I mean, the DJ played it before, and the arena was just blaring it, singing it. He turned the audio off at one point, and just let the fans sing it, and that part was really cool.
It was so cool.
I just feel bad for them. I feel bad for the Usos too. Like, I'm sure they had this great match planned. Because it was like the match itself was really good up to that point.
It was a really good opener. It just needed a few more minutes.
It did, and even after the injury, like even when they kind of rushed to the finish, like Shinsuke kicked out of a frog like a Uso splash,
and he also hit a dive over the top rope.
Yeah.
When was the last time you seen Shinsuke do that?
So credit to all of them for pushing through, getting through it.
Yep.
It just kind of sucks that they didn't get to do everything they wanted to do, but at least their match took place.
We didn't get to see a lot of the strong Boog stuff that we have learned to love and that kind of thing. But very cool. Very happy with it. Was the match that definitely should have opened the night for sure.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the other candidate for match of the night. The other one we have not discussed. The one that was match of the night until Cody Rhodes showed up. Becky Lynch finally, after 3 years, drops the Raw Women's Championship, takes the pin, counts the lights to Bianca Belair. We said that it was probably going to happen. There was an outside chance that Becky was going to retain.
Yeah.
But you talked earlier about, possibly not building stars. Well, guess what, y'all? The torch has been passed. Bianca, I mean, this 2 WrestleManias in a row, 2 of the 4 horsewomen have passed the torch to Bianca Belair.
Yeah, and I mean, it's absolutely deserved. The work that she has put in to get to this point is ridiculous because I mean, she wasn't that big of a deal in it. I mean, she was with the fans, with like the hardcore NXT fans.
Right.
But she never really got anything in NXT. And then when she got called up, she kind of didn't do a whole lot, and then out of nowhere, she gets caught, like she gets heat before the Rumble, she wins the Rumble. Her and Sasha tore the house down at Mania last year.
They did.
and I think Becky did it better. I think Becky Bianca was just as good.
Just as good. I'll say just as good. I don't want to say better.
I think this may have been Becky's best match as champion.
You're probably right.
Because I can't really think of another one that kind of comes to mind right away.
You're probably right.
It wasn't perfect. It wasn't pretty, but that played into it, and that made it so much better. Both entrances were amazing.
Great.
Becky getting the Marvel intro theme at the beginning, all of her playing into it, that was amazing.
So good.
I believe it was a HBCU band that played her in.
I think it was Texas State.
I think so. Played Bianca in, which a lot of the singing of God Bless America did not sound good in the arena before, right. And it sounded good on Peacock, but it did not sound good before. The band sounded awesome.
Yeah, they did.
They sounded absolutely awesome.
It also helped that we were outside of them.
Yeah, I think that definitely helped and played a part. Bianca's entrance was awesome. She got loud chants, loud EST chants the entire time.
That's cool.
It started off a little slow. They started off technical, and I think they did that for a reason to build, because they're building to that crescendo at the end. And I love the callback at the very beginning of the match with Bianca offering the handshake, Becky still hitting her. Fake, like, she gets out of the manhandle slam, she goes for the KOD, grabs the hair, manhandle slam, and Bianca kicked out at 2.9, and the crowd bit. Like, the crowd bit hard. I bit hard. Becky had a close, like, 2.9999 kick out. That was
off
amazing.
The 450.
Yeah. The match was just better. Like, I knew it was going to be it could steal the show. Mm-hmm. I was not expecting it to be like that, though. It was absolutely amazing.
Well, especially because the show was at such a high level that we're sitting here talking about, and we're still talking about that this one was almost match of the night.
Yeah.
You know,
this was second best match of the night.
Absolutely,
easily second best match of the night. Honestly, I really think you could probably put Cody Seth 1A, this 1B.
Oh, for sure.
I think they were right there with each other.
Cody Seth was good for different reasons.
Absolutely.
That Becky and Bianca were good for.
Absolutely. And the build, like, I will say, the build to this match was better than any of the other builds going into it. With Bianca cutting her hair and the whole history of SummerSlam, like, they told this story. SummerSlam is now fine. Like, the whole SummerSlam debacle is now perfectly fine.
What did I tell you after?
It's one of the first times that waiting to see what happened actually worked out.
What did I tell you?
For every Bianca, there's a Fiend.
Right.
So there's a mix of both. It was just absolutely amazing. Bianca is a massive star now.
Yes.
Not that she wasn't before, but to another level now.
Yep.
And I mean, I saw this on Twitter. I don't remember who posted it. So if I'm taking your credit, you can comment below who you are.
Okay, cool.
But they said, and they're right, Becky's reign this time, she built stars up.
She did.
Liv Morgan became a big deal because of Becky.
Doudrop.
Rhea Ripley became kind of a big deal because of Becky. Doudrop became a big deal because of Becky. Bianca Belair became one of the company's biggest stars because of Becky.
Yep.
So she deserves a lot of credit for this. Bianca deserves a lot of credit for putting the work in as well.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with Becky moving forward without the title. She hasn't been without a title for 3 years. So it will be interesting to see what she does, if she still feels like a huge deal. Obviously, I think they run this match back at some point. If not WrestleMania Backlash, they'll run it back soon. Because I think Becky losing again will only dive more into what this character is going to be.
Yep.
So I think she's going to be a female version of Seth Rollins, and that's fine.
That's fine with me. I also think she, at this point, is most likely to win Money in the Bank.
Yes.
I think Becky with Money in the Bank is a good transition from having the title to Money in the Bank. I think that would be really fun to see Becky with the Money in the Bank briefcase.
Yep. I agree. All right, man, that's the card, but let's talk about the important stuff. Let's talk about actually being there, because we couldn't talk about night number one without talking about walking into the stadium, the atmosphere, getting there, all of those kind of things. It was special for me. It was awesome, but it was your first. So just talk about like the anticipation and leading up to walking into the building, getting to our seats, and just all of that kind of stuff.
So when we walked, when we were walking from where we parked to the arena,
Yep.
I told you, like, I'm excited and I'm nervous at the same time.
Yep.
Because I know what to expect, but at the same time, I don't know what to expect.
Yep.
And I was excited. I was nervous because, like, you never know what you're gonna get with the WWE pay-per-view from time to time. So I didn't want to go and it'd be like an absolute wash, an absolute dud.
Yep.
And the AT&T Stadium, if you've never been, is huge.
Massive.
I mean, it is massive. And so when we walked in, you could kind of, it's like when we walked in, we were behind the stage.
Yes.
So we could see like the panels above the ring.
Stuff hanging over the screen, around the screen.
Yeah. So we kind of saw that, but then we kind of walked around. And when you walk around, there's this big opening where you can see in. So we both, like, heads down, we're walking, so we didn't see it.
Yep.
And man, when we walked through the tunnel to get to our seat, and you see the big star, you see the WrestleMania sign, you see all of it. We were probably one of the first 3,000 to 5,000 in.
Yep.
We walked in, man, and it was just amazing.
Yep.
Absolutely amazing. It was everything I wanted it to be and more. The crowd atmosphere was amazing. Obviously, you had a couple
so
of
hot last night.
We had a couple of drunk idiots behind us that were a little annoying at times.
Lord.
But other than that, like, the guys sitting in front of me after the Cody match, we all literally just like high-fived each other. I felt like I was at a football game or something.
Yep.
We just high-fived each other and we're freaking out.
Yep.
The atmosphere was amazing. It was easy to get around that stadium, which is nice.
Yes.
Where we were sitting, the bathroom was like 5 steps behind us, which is very nice.
Mm-hmm.
I would like where we're sitting because we're at an angle to where we can see the ring just fine.
Yep.
But also when they fought in the crowd and stuff, the jumbotron at AT&T Stadium is so big anyway.
You can't dang miss that.
No,
thing.
so you're just kind of sitting there and comfortably. You have the ring, you have the ramp. All of it was really cool. What's really cool is we also got to see the cars on the side. Like, that's the side they pulled out.
Oh,
on.
yeah, I meant to mention that earlier. Kudos to Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss, because for those of you that might not know this, I don't know if it's come out online or not. They were supposed to come out in a car, and something happened. I don't know, but they had to abandon it and just go out.
Yeah.
So they did not get their proper entrance. We saw that firsthand. Literally,
the car looked cool.
The cars are literally parked right where we're sitting. So if you're following us on social media at PBW Podcast, you have seen our point of view and those cars sitting right there. So go ahead. Sorry.
And that was also really cool too, because I think during the video package, you were looking at the ring steps, and I looked at that as they rolled the ATV out, and I was like, dude, we're getting the Stone Cold ATV.
Yep. And if you're watching, by the way, you're watching WrestleMania and Stone Cold disappears and he goes backstage and the camera's on Kevin Owens, and all of a sudden you hear the crowd start going again.
You hear a section of the crowd pop. That's
our
us.
section.
Because Stone Cold is standing like right there,
because
getting on it.
We see him come out and get on the ATV right beside of us. So that's our section.
Yeah,
going crazy.
We popped for that. It was absolutely amazing. I am spoiled for my first WrestleMania.
I've been to 3. You're so spoiled. It's not even funny.
I'm so spoiled at this point. My biggest fear has come true. I have been bitten by the WrestleMania bug. I've already texted my wife and told her, hey, we may be going to Los Angeles next year for WrestleMania, especially if The Rock is getting inducted in wrestling. Might have to make that trip happen. It's absolutely amazing. It's wrestling. It's sports entertainment. It's everything we love about WWE in one night. And it was absolutely amazing. We still got one more to go. I'm more excited now for the main event than I was when I got here.
Yes.
Because part of it is because when they showed the graphic, the crowd was pop for both guys.
They did.
So it's going to be a good. I'll say this: if the rest of the card is good heading into the main event, I think this is going to be a great main event.
Sure.
If the card is kind of a dud, I think the crowd may be
not ready for it.
And I don't know how well it's going to be received.
Let me tell you this though. I bet you every dollar I have in the bank, which is not much since we're at WrestleMania. But anyway, I bet you every dollar that I have in the bank that Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar have watched those things from last night and are so motivated, they're going to absolutely tear the house down.
I think everybody has. I think everybody's looked at last night. Honestly, the best way I can say is night one was an NXT takeover.
Yeah.
Now it's time for the main roster. And I'm not saying that the first night wasn't a main roster, but the thing that made WrestleMania so cool is that takeovers were amazing.
Yep.
You couldn't miss it.
Right.
The next night, live up to it.
Yep.
And so we'll see if night 2 can live up to it. I think the main event's going to deliver. I really do. I think it's going to be great. I'm so excited to see Pat McAfee.
Yes.
I think he might get as big of a pop as anybody.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be great. He got a pop when they showed him dancing on the announce table as Boog Nakamura, and he got a pop.
And then Edge and AJ, man.
Edge and AJ, I'm so ready for it. It's going to be hard for it to beat Seth and Cody, but if anybody can beat Seth and Cody's match, it's going to be Edge and AJ.
Mm-hmm.
Man, Johnny Knoxville. I'm excited for Johnny Knoxville. Like,
it's going to be great, man.
I'm excited to see what they're going to do. The women's tag match, I'm still iffy on, but
it can be good.
It can be good. The triple threat tag match, I think, is going to start the show off, and I think it's going to be hot and heavy. I think RK Bro is going to have an amazing entrance. I think the Street Profits are going to have amazing entrance. Yep. I wouldn't be shocked if Chad Gable is the most over guy in the ring.
Gonna be so funny.
I think he's going to be the most over guy in the ring.
I think that the women's tag match is going to be good because of Corey Graves' involvement. I think something is going to happen, and it's going to be killer.
Probably. Well, that's one thing, though, we didn't mention, because the first thing we did when we got back to the room last night, we ordered some of the WWE Smackadilla quesadillas.
Very good, by the way.
Very good.
It's not this like cheap thing that WWE is doing or whatever.
Great.
No, it's very good.
Or we were just starving. One of the two. But we sat down on because I wanted to hear the Cody pop on Peacock, and we watched the whole match. Corey Graves,
man,
killed it.
Oh my gosh! I cannot wait to watch this whole show.
I know.
So that I can hear the commentary. Because as we were saying last night, man, like if we are in the building and we are saying this is one of the top WrestleManias of all time already, we haven't even seen what you guys have seen at home.
Right.
Or we haven't felt the emotion of the dialogue in the ring and the commentators. Like
we didn't even hear Seth. We got text about it. Seth saying his thing to Cody.
Yeah, exactly.
And so like we missed that. And the thing about commentating is like it's either going to add or take away.
Yep.
And so maybe the Becky Bianca match came off better because we couldn't hear commentary.
Right.
And I kind of thought the same thing. Maybe they were going to play it off like Cody hadn't wrestled in 6 years and he's been gone and blah 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 whatever.
They didn't say AEW, but they acknowledged it.
They acknowledged Cody's work outside of WWE.
Yes, they did.
Without mentioning any names. Corey Graves dropping from
shedding his skin or something.
Well, the first thing he said is from unrecognizable to undeniable, something like that. Or whatever Cody said on AEW. That is an amazing promo. And then when he did the Stardust taunt, Corey saying he's not remembering, he's shedding old skin and starting new. That was perfect, absolutely
Corey
perfect.
Graves was great.
Corey Graves really helped that call a lot. Commentary on another side because I didn't fully listen to it. Pat McAfee should have been on the call for the Stone Cold match. Could you imagine Pat McAfee standing right there with Stone Cold? I bet they would have drank a beer together.
That would have been so good.
That'd have been great.
And Pat McAfee eating a stunner. That would have been so good. That would have been so
Byron eating the stunner was my moment of the night.
Byron eating the stunner was fantastic, guys. So that's night number 1, man. It's so much fun. Can't wait for night number 2. I just can't imagine it being actually better than night number 1, but something tells me that it's going to be. Something tells me that we're about to go through the same experience all over again in some way, shape, or form. And I can't wait. I think it's going to be awesome.
I think they got some surprises up their sleeve for tonight.
I think they do too.
I'm betting on The Rock at this point.
I am too.
I'm betting on John Cena showing up at some point.
I'm 100% hedging my bets on John Cena at some point too. Yep.
So
me too.
If it's not Cena, I think we either get Cena or Hogan at this point.
Yep.
And I think Cena gets the bigger pop at this for this.
Yeah, Cena will definitely get a bigger pop.
It's just going to be great. We didn't even mention we got to see Gable Stevenson last night and Stephanie McMahon.
Yeah, we did.
There was just a lot that happened last night that I fully don't remember everything.
The Undertaker coming out for the Hall of Fame stuff was great,
which I kind of missed because as soon as
but you still watched.
I watched it from the top, but as soon as the video package hit, I was like, I'm going to the merch stand. We got to go see if they have anything, and they did.
But it was very cool. We often talk about the chill in the air for the Undertaker. I kind of felt it, but that fire pyro was right in front of us, and it was hot, y'all. I felt the heat from that pyro.
Felt it on Drew too.
Oh, yes, we did. That's true. I forgot about that. Oh my gosh, man, y'all, it was hot. So again, follow us at PBW Podcast. We have posted several things. We're going to post several more things. Probably get on there today and post some stuff from the matches from last night, some pictures that we took, other than the video that we took once we walked in the stadium. But follow us at PBW Podcast. Make sure that you follow me. I'm at Chris Butcher 24. He is at Andy_PBWP. Tune in to us every Monday and Wednesday, and every day in between right now, because we're dropping brand new content on the BodySlam.net YouTube channel, SportsWire Radio, and of course, wherever you find your podcast. Support those other channels. I know they would appreciate it, as we do as well. All right, guys, that's going to do it. We are going to sign off here and get ready for night number 2 of WrestleMania. We have a Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch panel coming up, and then I am getting the opportunity to meet the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. Oh, yeah. Videos and pictures to follow of all of it. Can't wait. All right, y'all. Keep it tuned in right here. We will be back at you live tonight after WrestleMania night number 2 for all of your coverage, and then it's back for a 10-hour drive on Monday morning, back to the real world. Yes, I know. All right, y'all. Thanks for hanging out with us today. For Mr. Andy York, my name is Chris Belcher. This has been your WrestleMania Night 1 review. Yes, review. It is in the past. Night 2 coming up tonight. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll catch you guys down the road.